Welcome to a day, I guess I should say a weekend day, in the life of somebody whose arm doesn't work anymore, who has to navigate the daily things, and who is trying to get his arm to work again. This is generally how I sleep, with my arm up in some kind of way. Sometimes I have to lay down and put a knee pillow and like put my arm over something, but I have to keep it elevated because after the trauma, after I rip my arm off, there's so much swelling and issues that even 6 weeks later, I have to wear this thing pretty much day and night. So this is a compression glove. This is a compression sleeve that has this extra pad on it that's designed to keep the swelling in the top of my hand down. And if I let my elbow and my hand drop below my heart while I'm sleeping, yeah, it just swells up. It looks like a watermelon and it hurts like hell. It hurts like hell anyways. This is at least a little better. I have to say, let me see if I can figure this out. This thing, this heating pad has been a lifesaver. Because there's something about, maybe it's just not getting enough blood flow or there's not enough whatever. Having the heat makes it feel like it flows, like it's normal. I don't get that cold kind of arthritis feeling. It's just amazing. Also, it looks like that got twisted up. When I get up in the morning, because weirdly the hand works but the arm doesn't, like this is what I have to do. So if I'm just getting up to go to the bathroom, I literally just lift myself up, put my hand on my bicep and walk around like this. But if I know I'm gonna do more, I have to get my brace on because that's the only way I can keep it from tearing. Because, like I said, it was severed and the bicep tendons had to be reattached. So what I can't do is extend the arm all the way. So this started out at 90 degrees, and is now down to 60 degrees. So it started out like way up here, and now I'm down to there. But I can't extend beyond that because it risks tearing the bicep or the tendon. So I have to put this whole bionic arm thing on and walk around with it. What that means is I can do it with less pain. There's still times that I have to take that arm and put it up on the other, kind of like pick it up like this, because it just gets too heavy or it just starts hurting too bad. But for the most part, I can walk around, I don't know about normal, but relatively normal. Oh, you know what? I forgot. See? This is what happens when I'm not paying attention. So the other thing I have to do before I put this on is I have to take the scar strips off. So because this scar tissue is so close to the joint, they're worried about it bonding with the tendons and basically limiting the motion of the joint. But the scar strip is used to deny oxygen to the scar to prevent it from getting stronger or getting bigger. So weirdly, like this part that's healing, you actually want to deny oxygen to. And I think this is silicone, I'm not really sure. They gave it to me at PT. I got to put it on these little sheets every day, but I have to sleep with it. So I put these scar strips on. Like I said, they're just strips that go over top of the scar that are supposed to prevent it from getting bigger or stronger or more dense. And there's a lot of taking this thing up and down or off and on. It's not my favorite, but at the same time, I have an arm and I'm pretty grateful for that. So I will do what I can and hopefully make some progress. And again, the fact that I can use my hand is a pretty big progress because there was a point where they thought I was going to lose my whole arm. There was a point where they weren't sure I was going to make it. Like if it hadn't been for my buddy grabbing my arm and clamping the artery and then putting a tourniquet on me, I probably wouldn't have made it. So looking 6 weeks out from the accident, I would say I'm pretty damn lucky. I always get this confused for some reason, but it is kind of cool because then when I get this on, I feel like I'm actually fairly mobile. Like I can get up and move around, which is nice. But I have my little kit here. I have my water, I have my book, I have a phone charger thing. I have another phone charger thing back here, just like my random cable collection. But I have to get up and do all the normal things. And there's a lot of stuff that is a little bit frustrating, but I gotta do what I gotta do. So this is the nerve medication that has been life-changing because before I had this, I was just getting this like sharp, horrible hot pain that was literally bringing me to tears in the middle of the night. But taking this 3 times a day has taken that away. Now I still have a fair amount of pain. I still have like the kind of swelling pain or the something pain, but it's a lot better than it was. Take my Advil or my Tylenol. I have to alternate Advil and Tylenol, or I think Aleve and Tylenol, because it seems to make a world of difference. Like that's the only thing that takes a kind of dull pain away, whereas the other one takes the nerve pain away. Again, this is where it's nice that my left hand works. It may not be very strong, but at least it works. Yeah, that was terrible. So this is my new kitchen, and I try to get all my morning stuff out of the way before I try to take a shower because, believe it or not, even doing very basic or simple things can kind of work up a sweat or kind of exhaust me. So I try to go a long ways. And like everybody else in the respecting world, I have to make coffee. Or I don't have to, but I choose to make coffee. It is amazing the number of things that are just way more difficult with only one hand that I certainly never thought about. It makes me think about the people that, you know, were born this way or have lived with this for a long time or will live with this through no fault of their own. You know, I made the choice of getting on a motorcycle knowing, at least abstractly, that this could be one of the outcomes, but some people don't have that option. Some people just end up in this situation. And while I can try to gamify it and make the best of it, I think it's terrible that people have to. And normally I have like whole bean coffee and grind it and try to be a coffee nerd, but yeah, it's just going through that every day is not gonna happen. So we're just gonna make some coffee, and this is actually really good. This is a local shout out. Traeger Brothers, they're local roasters. I mean, it's really good coffee. I'm not necessarily the best coffee connoisseur, but for what we have locally, they just blow my mind. I used to go out to this little place and get a cup, and I always think like, God, I mean, it was a little grocery store, not grocery store, like a market store. And I was always like, how is it so good? And then I realized it was Traeger Brothers. I tried it. And I remember the first business they opened, it was really good then. So this is an example, like trying to get the leverage to even push this button is not always that easy, because you can't just grab it with one side and it's not secured down. I'll make a bowl of cereal and stuff later. I'm just doing what I can for now. One of the big selling points for this place was the fact that it has washer and dryer in unit, which is really nice. That said, I'm realizing it's a lot harder to do some of this stuff than I realized. So it's definitely a journey to do laundry. It's not hard to throw it in the machine or throw it in the dryer, but folding clothes? Yeah, one-handed folding does not work quite as well as I would have hoped. Or even just stuff like this, just trying to like reach in and get it, because it's not the most convenient setup. But again, I'm really lucky to have it. It's way better than having to go to a public laundromat and try to navigate this, as I have done. And yeah, it's something I'm grateful for, but we'll see what this looks like there. And I realize this probably looks pretty janky. I normally get up in the morning and make my bed, and you know what? I just am doing what I can, which is not always very much. Even trying to get the sheet on this bed, the fitted sheet and then the other one was a challenge. I had to get a buddy's help to do it. Having the hand is really helpful because I can do things like this. I can manipulate here, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I can fold it in a way that feels logical. Although that's not bad. We'll call that folded. Then I gotta get this stuff done and put it in the closet, which is another journey. I guess I could just put it in a pile. I had a roommate when I was in prison who really looked up to this kid in some ways, but also just thought he was bizarre in others. And he used to just take his dirty clothes when they came back from laundry and throw them in his box without folding them. And at one point he just threw them on the floor that he had just cleaned, so it was a clean floor. But I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like, why are your clothes on the floor? He said, don't you know? The floor is just the biggest shelf in the room. I put them on the shelf. Like, why would I not? And it was, you know, it was interesting because it was kind of hard to argue with his logic, at least on an abstract level, but it definitely isn't the way I would have done it, and it's the way I'm not trying to do it now. But it has been easier to fold clothes and deal with things in the past, and I'm adjusting. This is a really good example. Like, just trying to get a shirt that's inside out pulled back through is not always that easy. Or when I'm trying to get like sweatshirts or shirts on that are not quite aligned, it can turn into a whole process. But that's actually part of the whole taking this off and on, because it's cold, it's winter here in Virginia. So I generally, when I'm going outside, have to take this off, put a sweatshirt or something over top, and then put that back on. And it's a bit of a process. It's more than I'm used to with just grabbing a jacket or a sweatshirt and running out the door. But it's, again, something I have the opportunity to do because I am alive and I do have an arm. And that was not guaranteed in any way. And I figured out that this is actually easier for me to use than like a cabinet or a dresser. We have to redo the floors and the walls, like repaint the walls in this place. So I can't move a lot of furniture in anyways, but having this here, this is like easy to grab, easy to do. Maybe that'll change in the future, but for now, just putting the clothes here has made it a lot easier. So now that I got some of the big chores done, it's time to take a shower. The problem is obviously I can't take a shower with this. And again, I just can't let the arm hang, so I have to do this whole process where I have to take this off and I have to make sure it's supported, so I just kind of use my spare leg. I'm really glad I have good balance, because if I didn't, probably not know what I would do in this situation. Here I just, again, hold the arm up, put this over here, start to take this off. And I try not to get this turned inside out. I have to wash it every couple days anyways, but I try not to get it turned inside out because it is so hard for me to undo. And whereas, you know, my arm is not doing great. You can just see kind of the weird swelling, but again, that comes from the compression and the straps. And again, the fact that I had my arm ripped off, like you can see the scars are pretty bad. The fact that 6 weeks later, it's like an arm and that my fingers work, we'll call that a win. But then from here, I have to get the sling on because I actually have to bathe with the sling. What I usually do is bathe with the sling, and then when I'm done, take it off. Oh, shoot, forgot I had the microphone there. And then once I take it off, I try to just wash that arm up too before I completely dry up. But this way, let's see if I can, I don't know where to put this now. Maybe this will work. If not, I apologize. I'm doing my best. But so to put the sling on, easiest way I've found is I have to reach through, grab my hand, and then that way I can support it with the other arm, which is good. To kind of like throw this up on the leg, find a way to get this here. This is, as you can see, not always the best. Reach this up and over. Again, if the sound is bad, I apologize. We're doing the best we can with what we got. Come here. Oh, no. Got to be lined up, and then I can kind of pull with this. This is backwards. Yeah. Yeah, this is an example. This is just not the best. The small struggles. So, okay, now I've got it deep in there. I can get this to land up a little bit. And then now, I'm basically ready for a shower, in which this thing, this kind of loofah stick, has become my biggest thing, because I remember, like, I can get my back, which is good. That's not the biggest thing, but like my armpit, I can't even lift my armpit, so I have to kind of lean over, and I guess I could do it with my bare hand, but lean over, do that. But then the other way is, I have to kind of just put it in this hand, which doesn't move, and just kind of like maneuver and try to figure this out. And it's hard to do with the mic in my hand, so maybe I can put the mic here. But just kind of like use that to get the other armpit, because it's not a very good way to do it. So it's not the most fun. In the beginning, I was only doing bass, but that was because there was just no way I could deal with being in a shower, and I had to put this giant rubber glove on, and it took 2 people to get the rubber glove on, or just one person. Actually, I really appreciate this kind of like old nurse energy, just wrapped it in saran wrap and was like, "You're good, go for it." These days, I don't need that, but I do need the arm supported, which is why I do this. But then when I get out, this stuff has been a lifesaver, because especially in the beginning, I couldn't do anything else. But again, I can kind of lean over, get the angle, use the spray, and then I have deodorant, and I don't have to worry about trying to, you know, use one hand that doesn't work. They kind of get together after that. Like, I wear contact lenses a lot, or I used to wear contact lenses a lot. Even just that, like, I can't reach my left hand up to pull my eye down to stick it in with my right hand, so I'm wearing glasses these days. Like, I'm just having to adjust to the reality of where we're at, and it's not fun, but it works. Well, now I am out of the shower and in what I consider my workstation, because this is basically where I'm at for a lot of the day. I've got my laptop. I can sit here. Also where I've been trying to eat, because again, this was a completely empty place. I have a nice dining room table. I just don't have any chairs, so I either eat standing up or try to eat here, and that has not worked well. So hopefully I can get some chairs today. I've got one person coming by today, one person coming by tomorrow. Hopefully we can adjust. And I started to put this back on, but I forgot. There are a couple things I need to do. The first is I need to do some scar treatment, and I also need to do my PT. And I found weirdly that doing the scar treatment first can kind of help loosen up the scar for the PT. But all I'm really doing is just doing circles, and then I'll do back and forth and up and down on the scar. Circles both ways. And I'm supposed to use like light to moderate pressure now, and I think that's gonna go up later, because the scar is still, you know, 6 weeks old, still relatively new. But do this for the whole part of the scar, and then hopefully it will not scar as bad as they're originally fearing, or they were originally fearing, or as bad as it could, and we'll go from there. And that's just a minor thing. I try to do that a couple times a day because it's supposed to help with the scarring. But now PT. So I've got a lot of stuff that I have to do, and one of the main things is that my shoulder doesn't work and my bicep doesn't work. Now PT hasn't actually addressed the shoulder. They haven't given me any exercises on that, but I've got the basic things. They told me to do as much as I can with my hand, so I do the finger touches, and I try to do these back and forth for, I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. But just making sure the dexterity is still there, the control, like the fine motor skills are there, which is a good sign. Then from there, I'm gonna spread my hand. I'm gonna clench down and like this, like kind of like I don't know, it's a karate punch thing. Out, down, out, because apparently this is easier to do like a regular fist, but my PT said doing this is gonna be better for it. Try to extend all the way down, extend all the way down. And it's amazing because it's like, even that feels hard. It feels difficult to extend my fingers back, but just doing this a bunch throughout the day, maybe do some regular fists, is supposed to help improve that. Ooh, wow, yeah, it gets tiring to just extend the fingers. I wanna go out and then kind of like karate chop back and forth. Ooh. See, sometimes this hurts. I'm trying to lift the hand up so I can demonstrate, but sometimes that like hurts the elbow. Just a little bit of pressure and then up, down. This is just the wrist. And I try to do this just basically throughout the day whenever I'm doing something else, but I'm trying to do it all at once right here. Now, one of the things I was told to do is like turn my wrist over, because it takes a bicep to do this. This is like a bicep curl to turn your wrist over. So if I try to do it with just my hand, it just doesn't work. But turn it over and then use the tricep to turn it back. Turn it over, use the tricep to turn it back. And what I will do throughout the day at some point is just try to like, just try to do it myself. And what I see is I'm generally like pushing with the tricep and like lifting with the hand, which is okay, but that's not building the same muscles. So like trying to imagine myself just doing it, like one of those Karate Kid moments where it just magically works. Ooh, that kind of hurt. It's Karate Kid moments where it just works, but if I go back to turning the wrist up, and it's weird because the motion here was super painful in the beginning. Well, I mean, I guess it's not weird. I mean, I chopped my freaking arm off. Makes sense there'd be limitations. But like, even once I get here trying to hold it, it's the most I can do. And again, I'm kind of cheating with the hand, but if I could do that, like if I could stick the hand out, that would be great. Not my favorite, but I was told to take my bicep. Let me see if I can reposition this a little bit better. Just take my bicep and just try to hold it up. And yeah, it doesn't hold up. Because no matter how hard, I just don't have any nerves firing in the bicep. So it's just supposed to go to the range of motion, but then every time just try to imagine holding it up. And it's, trust me, if you've ever been in a position, I had somebody write me who actually lost a finger and had the finger reattached, where you can't do something that feels really basic, like hold your arm up. It's incredibly difficult and frustrating. Now, one of the things I am really grateful for is, considering I absolutely like destroyed and they had to put together the nerves in my arm, the fact that I have any motion in my fingers and my hand is amazing. Because I can't remember, the two are the ulnar and the radial ulnar, whatever it is, nerves, radiobrachialis or something. They had to put the nerves back together, and one end of one of the nerves they couldn't find, what they said the distal end. So it was just like floating around, and they're like, well, it'll reconnect, we're just not sure when. And the trauma was so bad that it makes sense. I mean, my arm was like, it was just a giant chunk out of my arm. Like, people didn't even know if it was an arm or what it was. So the fact that any of it got put back together, one, is incredibly lucky, and two, is due to an incredible surgical team. Like, I was really lucky to have my accident with one of the best orthopedic hand and arm surgeons in the country, and a surgical team in the country, I should say, not just him, but though he is definitely a huge part of it. I actually meet with him next week or the week after, where I'm looking forward to saying thank you for saving my arm, because even though it doesn't work right now, you know, even if I never got anything back but this, you know, I can take my hand and lift it up and put it on a computer and I can type. Can't type well, like there's definitely still not some fine motor function, but I have so much function that I wouldn't necessarily otherwise have. And it is frustrating to, you know, I mean, this shoulder is really painful, so I don't know if I hit hard on it or what, but this is still really painful and it's still really cold. It's that same kind of arthritic feeling I get on my hand. Maybe if I had 2 heating blankets, I could do that, but either way, like, I'm just gonna kind of go through these and try to, even like going up too far hurts. Like, something about trying to go up doesn't feel good. And then, so if I try, I keep trying to like lift the arm, like, let's do this. And it's hard because, like, actually, when I was done with the shower, I was hanging my, my sling back up. And the thing is, so I put my left hand here and I was hanging it up and it fell, and I just went to grab it, and this hand had to like barely catch on at the last minute, otherwise it would have swung down and it could have caused damage. So I have to be careful, because the reaction is to like grab things or to just assume that the left hand can take care of itself, when in reality it really can't. We'll do that as kind of like the intro PT for the day. Again, I try to do it as many times as I can throughout the day, or maybe not as many, I don't want to exhaust it, but try to do it pretty regularly, keep it flowing, keep it moving, get my arm brace, put this back on, and then I'm ready for as regular a business as I can get. I don't know what that is. And again, I'm kind of glad this is not a work day, because normally I'd be either on the computer already or packing the computer up to go to the co-working space. And it's amazing how exhausting even that can be. Just like packing stuff up and going somewhere and trying to take a backpack up the stairs, because I can only put a backpack over this shoulder. And it's, for whatever reason, it's pretty heavy. So it just ends up being a lot. And this feels way too tight for some reason. So I'll have to look at what's going on there. Getting this thing on will, if I can ever get it on properly. It just gives me a greater sense of security. I feel a little more comfortable because I know it's supported, so I don't have to worry, you know, if the arm's just gonna drop and it's gonna do some damage to the bicep or to the elbow. So this happens sometimes where it just seems like it swells a lot. So I'll have to release this, because when that swells a lot, this won't fit anymore. So I have to release this, bring it up, and then just readjust to where it's at. But it's not fun to have an arm that swells to, you know, from normal size to 3 times its size, and it used to be 10 times its size, but now I can stand up, and this pillow is the only pain, just like that blanket behind me. I just have to kind of pull it over my head, because otherwise I get caught up every time I sit down and I can't do anything. But that is the beginning routine of a guy who lost the use of his arm and is trying to get it back. Like I said, I have a fairly nice dining room table, but I don't have any chairs, so I can't eat there yet, though again, we're hoping to get the chairs today. So now, after all that, I'm gonna be able to have some coffee and hopefully feel a little bit of pep in my step. And sometimes, weirdly, through all that, I just lose my appetite. Like, I'd like to have some cereal, but I don't feel like I can eat right now, so I'm doing what I can. Cheers.